Did you ever lose something really important? Like your keys or your wallet or, I don't know. The formula for an unstoppable burning liquid that could help defend your entire empire from invasion. If you said yes, then boy do I have the video for you, because today we're talking about Greek fire. It's a terrifying lost superweapon of the Byzantine Empire. The formula for Greek fire has been lost to history, so they fortified the heck out of Constantinople, building massive walls around the city to keep the invaders out. But they also developed some pretty creative ways to keep the enemies at bay from the water. But we do know that it burned like a roaring inferno, floated on water and stuck to anything it touched, setting both ships and men ablaze. Now that's a mouthful. Now, the reason why the Byzantines are still so secretive about the formula is pretty simple. Whereas a fire at sea could normally be put out by buckets of water, sand, or even vinegar, the sight of those fiery projectiles streaking through the air is enough to strike terror into the hearts of enemy sailors. Greek fire burned right on the water and could only be stopped by throwing sand on it or dousing it with vinegar or urine. One story claims that when the Venetians seized a Byzantine ship full of Greek fire during the Fourth Crusade, they unleashed it on the unsuspecting Genoese, only for the liquid to turn to gold when it hit the water. Talk about a Midas touch. Another likened it to a storm of red-hot stones falling from the sky, adding that once it landed, it would not cease burning until it had devoured everything around it. For centuries, Greek fire helped defend Constantinople from invasion, even though it's no longer around to protect us from whatever threats may come our way. That's pretty disgusting, but hey, it worked. In the 600s, the emperor wanted to give a really nasty send-off to anyone who dared attack Constantinople. Others say it was a mixture of quicklime, sulfur, and other ingredients, while still others believe it was petroleum or a compound derived from oil. But to the Byzantines, it didn't matter if it was real or imagined. So long as their enemies feared it, they'd keep using it. And few things say welcome to town like setting their entire fleet on fire. And the Byzantine navy was unmatched in the Mediterranean, thanks in no small part to Greek fire, according to an eyewitness. It emerged from the openings in the ship's bellies like a fountain and flew through the air like a javelin. When it hit its target, it stuck fast and presently burst into flames. You see, the Byzantines were under constant threat of invasion from the Arabs, the Persians, and the Bulgarians. A fun little historical theory that I like to call, because much like today, naval supremacy meant economic and political dominance. Unfortunately, the exact chemical composition of Greek fire is unknown, but that hasn't stopped historians from coming up with some pretty fascinating theories. It was typically sprayed on enemy ships through siphons mounted on the bows of Byzantine vessels. You might be wondering, what exactly was this mysterious substance? Some say it was made of naphtha, a flammable liquid that seeps from rocks in the mountains of the Byzantine Empire. What we do know is that Greek fire didn't burn the way normal fires did. In fact, it was virtually impossible to extinguish. Perhaps the most terrifying thing about Greek fire, however, was its psychological impact. One Arab writer described it as a horrifying and fearful thing to behold, saying it caused the bravest of hearts to quake with fear. In fact, Greek fire was so intimidating that some legends grew up around it. Of course, there's no evidence that any of this is true, but it gives you an idea of just how terrifying Greek fire must have been. In reality, it was probably just a combination of chemicals that produced a thick white cloud when it hit the water, making it look like sand or smoke, and it worked. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest weapons aren't the ones that you see, but the ones you imagine. But that's just a theory. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more explosive historical tales and leave a like if you learned something new. As always, stay happy and stay healthy.